For 2 years, my granddaughter did not speak a single word, not a cry, not a laugh, not even the soft babble babies usually make when they are discovering their voices. Doctors called it selective mutism. Therapists said trauma. Some said she would talk when she was ready. Others gently suggested I stop waiting for something that might never come. But I waited. I waited because every morning when I opened my eyes, Lily was there standing silently in the doorway of my bedroom, her small hands wrapped around the edge of the frame, her dark eyes watching me like she was guarding something fragile. Watching me. She was 3 years old when they brought her to my house. A thin child with hair too big for her face and sadness pressed into her bones. My son Daniel stood behind her that day, looking like a man who had lost every argument with life and didn't have the strength to fight anymore. She won't talk, he told me, not meeting my eyes. She hasn't since everything. Everything meant my daughter-in-law, Rachel. Rachel had always been difficult to explain, intelligent, charming when she wanted to be, and sharp in a way that cut without leaving visible wounds. She smiled too precisely, laughed half a second too late, and spoke in compliments that felt like warnings. When Daniel married her, I told myself I was being unfair. Mothers often are, but even then, I noticed how Rachel corrected Lily's movements, how she flinched at loud noises, how her tiny shoulders stiffened whenever her mother entered a room. Then Daniel's job transferred him overseas for a year, and Rachel insisted Lily stay with her. When Lily came back, she came back silent. Daniel lasted 6 months before the marriage collapsed. He didn't say much about what happened, only that Rachel was not well and that the courts had granted shared custody with conditions. Lily stayed with me most of the time because Daniel traveled constantly for work. Rachel visited. She always visited. She brought homemade food every time she came, always insisting I eat with them. Family meals are important, she would say, setting containers on my kitchen counter like offerings. Soups, stews, teas with strange herbal smells. She watched closely while I ate, her chin resting lightly on her hand. I thought she was just being polite. At first, Lily never touched the food Rachel brought. She would sit at the table, hands folded in her lap, staring at her plate, until I quietly replaced it with something from my pantry. Rachel never commented on it, only smiled and said, "She's picky." But Lily's eyes followed every spoonful I lifted to my mouth. I started noticing small things, headaches that came out of nowhere, a metallic taste on my tongue, nausea that passed as quickly as it came, fatigue so heavy it felt like my bones were filling with sand. Doctors said it was stress, age, blood pressure. One even suggested anxiety. Rachel suggested herbal supplements. "You're not young anymore," she said gently, handing me a small glass bottle filled with amber liquid. "This will help your immune system." I didn't take it. That was the first time I saw fear flash across Lily's face. It happened one rainy afternoon in October. Rachel had left early, claiming a migraine. The house was quiet, except for the ticking clock in the living room and the sound of rain tapping against the windows. I was sitting on the couch, rubbing my temples, when Lily climbed up beside me. She pressed her small body against my arm, something she rarely did, and lifted her face to mine. Her lips parted. For a moment, no sound came out. Her throat moved as if she were pushing words through something heavy and painful. Then she whispered, barely louder than the rain, "Don't eat it." I froze. My heart started beating so loudly I could feel it in my ears. I looked down at her, my hands shaking. "Eat what, sweetheart?" I asked softly, afraid that if I spoke too loudly, the moment would shatter. Her eyes filled with tears. She glanced toward the kitchen, then back at me. "Mommy's food," she said. Her voice was thin and cracked, like it hadn't been used in a very long time. "It hurts you." I pulled her into my arms so fast she gasped. I could feel her heart racing against my chest. "Lily," I whispered, trying to stay calm. Why do you think that? She buried her face into my sweater and shook her head. She said it's medicine, Lily murmured. But it makes people sleepy. Daddy got sleepy too. My blood ran cold. Daniel had gotten sick during the last months of his marriage. Chronic exhaustion, dizziness, unexplained stomach pain. He blamed work stress. Rachel blamed his weak constitution. I thought of every meal Rachel had served, every tea she had poured. Every time she insisted I finish my bowl. I gently lifted Lily's chin so I could see her face. How do you know it hurts people? Her lower lip trembled. She hesitated, like she was weighing whether speaking again was worth the cost. She practices, Lily said finally, in the kitchen. When no one's there. My mind filled with images I didn't want, bottles hidden behind flour containers. Powders measured carefully, a woman humming softly as she stirred. What does she practice, sweetheart? Lily swallowed. Making it not smell, the room felt like it was tilting. I didn't sleep that night. I sat at the kitchen table until dawn, staring at the containers Rachel had left in my fridge earlier that week. I didn't open them. I didn't throw them away. I just stared, replaying Lily's words over and over. The next morning I called Daniel. He listened in silence as I told him everything. When I finished, he exhaled slowly. I thought I was going crazy, he said. I used to feel sick after dinner. She always said it was my diet. Did Lily ever say anything to you? I asked. No, he replied. She stopped talking right after she walked in on Rachel in the kitchen one night. What do you mean? There was a pause. I found Lily standing in the hallway, Daniel said quietly. It was late. Rachel was in the kitchen with all the lights off except the stove. She was wearing gloves. Lily wouldn't tell me what she saw. The next morning she didn't speak. My hands clenched into fists. We agreed on one thing immediately. Rachel could not know that Lily had spoken. The next time Rachel visited, I acted normal. I laughed. I thanked her for the food. I even pretended to take a few bites when she was watching, slipping the rest into a napkin when she turned away. Lily watched every move, her small fingers gripping the edge of the table. Rachel's eyes lingered on Lily longer than usual. She seems different, Rachel said casually. Quieter? My stomach twisted. She's always been quiet. Rachel smiled. Children change. That night, Lily came into my room and climbed into bed beside me. She pressed her ear against my chest like she was listening to make sure my heart was still beating. She knows I told, Lily whispered. I stroked her hair. What makes you think that? She watches my mouth, Lily said, when I sleep. The days that followed felt like walking on thin ice. I started keeping notes times Rachel visited, what she brought, how I felt afterward. I secretly replaced my meals when she wasn't looking. My symptoms began to fade. Rachel noticed. You look better, she said one afternoon, her tone light, but her eyes sharp. Different. I've been resting more, I replied. She nodded slowly. That's good. Rest is important. That evening, Lily refused to let go of my hand. She's angry, Lily whispered. When you don't get sick. How do you know that? I asked. She talks to herself, Lily said. She says people don't appreciate her help. A week later, Rachel showed up unannounced. She carried no food this time. Instead, she brought flowers and a small paper bag. I thought we could have tea, she said. Just us. My heart pounded, but I nodded. As I filled the kettle with water, Lily stood in the doorway, shaking her head slowly. Rachel reached into the paper bag and pulled out a small jar. She unscrewed the lid, releasing a sharp, bitter smell. It's new, she said. Stronger. My hands trembled so badly I nearly dropped the kettle. I'm not feeling well, I said quickly. Maybe another time. Rachel's smile tightened. You haven't been yourself lately. Lily suddenly stepped forward. Don't drink it, she said loudly. The room went silent. Rachel turned slowly toward her daughter. What did you say? She asked, her voice dangerously calm. Lily didn't move. She stood there, small and shaking but unflinching. "You make people sick," Lily said. "You made Daddy sick. You're trying to make Grandma sleep forever." The air felt thick, like it was hard to breathe. Rachel stared at Lily, her expression unreadable. Then she laughed softly. "Oh, sweetheart," she said, "you have such an imagination." But her eyes flicked to me, and for the first time, I saw something raw and furious behind them. That night, after Rachel left, I locked every door and window. Lily slept curled against me, her fingers tangled in my shirt like she was afraid I might disappear if she let go. I reported everything the next morning. Authorities came. They asked questions. They took samples from my fridge, from the jar Rachel left behind from the sink drain. Rachel denied everything. She cried. She said Lily was confused, traumatized, coached. But Lily spoke. She spoke in quiet, broken sentences, describing the kitchen at night, the gloves, the bitter smells, the way Rachel warned her not to tell or bad things would happen. The tests came back days later. I remember the detective's face when he sat across from me at the table. "What she gave you wasn't medicine," he said. "In small doses, it causes fatigue and nausea. In larger ones," he didn't finish the sentence. Rachel was taken away that afternoon. The house felt strangely empty without her presence, like a storm had passed, left behind a silence that rang in my ears. Lily started talking more after that. Not much at first, single words, then short sentences, but every word felt like a miracle. Sometimes, though, she would stop mid-sentence and listen, her head tilted slightly, as if she were waiting for a sound only she could hear. One night, as I tucked her into bed, she looked up at me and said, "She'll be mad when she comes back." My heart skipped. "Who will?" "Mommy," Lily said. "She doesn't like it when people don't finish what she starts." I held her close, listening to her breathing until it evened out, staring into the dark hallway beyond her bedroom door, wondering how long shadows really last once the light is turned on, and whether some doors once opened can ever truly be closed again.